Welcome to this explainer. Think of us as your personal neuroeducators for the next few minutes. We're going to dive right in and diagnose exactly what's going on inside your head on a daily basis. Because every single day, without fail, your brain is either getting stronger or it's getting weaker. And you know what the truly scary part is? Most people don't even notice the decline happening until they're already struggling to keep up. So today, we're mapping out the architecture of mental decay and looking at the exact everyday habits that are actively killing your IQ. Look, if you're a high-performing professional or honestly just someone who relies on their intellect to succeed, you might actually be unknowingly sabotaging yourself. We always tend to look for big, dramatic events as the cause of our brain fog or burnout, but the truth is usually hiding right there in our repetitive everyday actions. We really have to ask, is your daily routine secretly killing your IQ? Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll establish why cognitive decline is really about your choices, not your genetics. Then we'll unpack the social media trap, followed by the real crisis of sleep deprivation and the absolute myth of multitasking. Finally, we'll talk about how you can actually reclaim your intelligence. So let's start off with that very first point, this whole idea of our choices versus our genetics. We really need to debunk this massive modern misconception right out of the gate about where our day-to-day intelligence actually comes from. A lot of people feel their focus slipping or maybe their memory slowing down, and they jump to this devastating conclusion. They assume, oh, I guess I just wasn't born very smart, or they think they're naturally losing their edge with age. But that is a total myth. Your intelligence isn't just fixed at birth. Your focus and memory are declining because of repeated, small daily habits. It's the cumulative effect of these tiny choices that causes your mind to gradually become addicted to distractions. Which brings us directly to our first major pillar of mental decay, the social media trap. I like to call this the attention assassin, and it's literally glowing in our hands right now. Look at how this pipeline of decay cascades. Step 1, you engage in that endless short video scrolling. Seems harmless enough, right? But what happens next? Step 2, your brain actually gets rewired to expect instant entertainment. And that directly leads to step 3, a drastically shortened attention span. Finally, you hit step 4, where your brain develops this crippling physiological craving for constant stimulation. And here's the reality. The more distracted your mind becomes, the harder it is to think clearly. Without that baseline focus, your overall intelligence simply becomes weaker. And as your brain falls deeper into that trap we just mapped out, something else happens. Focusing on a book, studying, or just engaging in deep thinking starts to feel boring. It literally feels unbearable. Think about the physiological effect of this for a second. If you're trying to optimize your career productivity, but deep, strategic thinking suddenly feels agonizingly boring to you, you're in trouble. Your mind has become so addicted to the rapid-fire distraction of short videos that essential, high-level cognitive work becomes almost impossible to endure. All right, moving away from the screen time, let's talk about the next major pillar, the sleep deprivation crisis. We've got to tackle this incredibly dangerous boast that's come out of modern hustle culture, which actually acts as a total mental blackout. 4 to 5 hours. You hear it all the time, right? A lot of ambitious people brag about sleeping only 4 to 5 hours a night. They view it as this badge of honor, like a sign of their incredible work ethic. But the science is explicitly clear on this. This severe lack of rest doesn't make you a harder worker. It seriously damages your brain. When you sleep, that is the absolute critical period when your brain physically repairs itself. It's when it stores memories and resets your mental energy for the next day. If you skip that, you are facing some severe biological casualties. Your reaction time slows down. Your memory gets noticeably worse. Even simple, everyday tasks become suddenly harder to execute. And worst of all, for any professional, it absolutely destroys your smart decision-making. Simply put, a tired brain cannot think clearly. And this is exactly why highly successful people take their sleep so seriously. They do not buy into this illusion of hustle culture that tells them to trade their brain's crucial repair time for a few extra hours of low-quality work. They know that to operate at an elite cognitive level, resetting their mental energy through proper sleep is completely non-negotiable. Now, let's deconstruct our third pillar of decay. This is a big one, the myth of multitasking. This is such an incredibly common workplace habit, but it completely fractures your focus. Look, most people think multitasking makes them vastly more productive, but let's look at the actual biological results here. When you're constantly switching between messages, videos, apps, and your actual work, the biological result is that it forces your brain to constantly execute an attention reset. And when you attempt simultaneous tasks, it literally destroys your concentration. Every single time you switch, You are taxing your brain and completely draining your cognitive reserves. So why is destroying your concentration so catastrophic? Because deep focus is arguably one of the most important skills you can possibly develop for becoming smarter and optimizing your career productivity. When you multitask, you significantly weaken your ability to focus deeply on one thing for a long period of time. And the more distracted your brain is, the harder learning becomes. You are actively robbing yourself of the exact skill that drives true professional intelligence. Okay, so we know what's going wrong. How do we fix it? Let's talk about reclaiming your intelligence. It all builds into this incredibly powerful realization about your professional future. Cognitive decline is not inevitable. It is the result of your choices. Because these harmful daily habits, the endless scrolling that destroys your attention span, the sleep deprivation that halts your brain's repair processes, and the multitasking that forces those constant attention resets, these are all active choices rather than fixed genetics. This means you have the absolute power to stop the decay today. For instance, instead of starting your morning routine by grabbing your phone for endless scrolling, you can choose focus. By simply recognizing and cutting out these behaviors, you immediately start protecting your IQ. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought for your career. We established right at the beginning that your brain is actively changing every single day. Since your daily routine dictates your cognitive output, the power rests entirely in your hands. Will you choose to let your brain get weaker by falling victim to endless scrolling, sleep deprivation, and the myth of multitasking? Or will you choose to make it stronger today? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and here's to making those smarter choices.